This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradu.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. This is The Gauge, and I am Chance Conrado. On this episode of the podcast, we have got Garrett Yerigan. You may recognize his voice because he does all kinds of announcing. In fact, he has been announcing rodeo since he was like a little kid. It's pretty interesting because a lot of people aspire to be rodeo cowboys. They want to be the next Trevor Brazil, the next Tuff Cooper, the next Haley Kinsel, the next podcast host Chance Conrado. You could be anybody you want to be. He wanted to be an announcer, which I find to be very interesting because the sport of rodeo is evolving to the point where people are actually picking jobs like announcing as children. It's freaking awesome. This is the kind of thing that that we love at the podcast because it shows the evolution of the sport of the rodeo, which, as you all know, if you listen, we're super passionate about. Well, Garrett shares that passion. We talk a lot about it. We talk a lot about current events and kind of the state of the industry. He has a lot of insight from traveling all over the country, announcing rodeos. Anyway, he's done a lot of cool things. I had a great time talking to him. Check it out. Producer's a big job, Ty. It's a big responsibility.
I know.
Producer, director, camera operator, key grip, all that stuff wrapped into one.
That sounds like my job right there.
There you go.
It does, yeah. You're a little slow on the facts, though, when I need something looked up on Google for some reason.
All right, if you want me to run a podcast well, you're not probably going to get some. You're probably going to have to lack in something else.
Really? Like typing speed? I did find that one out. Yeah. You would think like a computer whiz like this, like he would be like,
Yeah.
no, he's like,
Hunt and peck.
space, space, space. Space, space, space.
All right, that
I was
was-
shocked when I saw that.
But that was me trying to transcript what you were saying in real time, so I can't type that fast.
You need to learn shorthand.
It's funny, the first time I asked him to look up the word rodeo, he looked up
Oh, no.
Rodeo Drive.
Oh, no. Bless him.
He's sweet. Yeah, so anyway, we were talking. It's like both of us kind of talk for a living, but completely and totally different.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's weird. Like, you would think talking is talking, but when you dissect it down by profession, big difference.
Very big difference. And you know what's funny about rodeo announcers? Because you're how, what, 24, 23?
25.
Oh, you're 25.
Quarter of a century.
Yeah.
It only took me 25 years to get here, but I finally made it.
Yeah, you young buck.
Sometimes I don't feel like it, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, well, no. Drinking at 10 o'clock might do that to
Hey,
you.
I'm drinking water. What are you talking about? It's water.
It is. By the way, we probably can't show that on air.
Maybe you need
Koozie.
Maybe you need some Gold Buckle beer.
Yeah, maybe Gold Buckle beer. Yeah, we're in talks with some others.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Others. That sounds disgusting.
Does it? Isn't that what they're saying is the problem with our country right about now?
Others.
You say others and you say disgusting. There's a word for that. We won't say it on the show. Yeah, this is a little disturbing.
We
Garrett.
love it. We love everybody.
I was warned that we might have an episode like this with you.
We love everybody, just not every beer.
Yeah. Well, who makes Gold Buckle beer anyway? It's Coors, right?
No.
See, that shows you what I know.
Even. They're also in Colorado, but it's definitely not Gold Buckle or not Coors.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Gold Buckle beer other than they do stuff with the NFR. What are
Brewed
you doing,
for the
Ty?
cowboy and all of us?
Just slightly.
Go for the buckle.
Do you
The
mind
official
his
beer of PRC
clammy
Rodeo.
hands in your face?
It was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I was just so sudden, I didn't even know how to react.
When's the last time you had a man's hand in your face that fast?
Let's see. I'm 25. Today is
Don't say yesterday.
Thursday. Never. Definitely not yesterday.
Yeah, so yeah, we were talking about that. It's interesting. We both talk for a living. We have very different voice. Here's the one thing about rodeo announcers.
This is gonna be good. Is this gonna be a stereotypical observation?
It's so you're not gonna have ever heard this one before.
I can't wait.
You're not gonna have an answer for this, but I know a lot of people.
Watch me. I'll make
wonder,
one up.
Yeah. Is there a school for rodeo announcing where like everybody's gonna sound just like this? Welcome to the BBR. My name is Garrett, Bob Talman, Matt, you name it. We all sound just like this. Brandon Bates.
So,
Where did that come from? I actually want to know because just as long as I've been alive, it's always been that.
so they're actually. This is probably gonna shock you a little bit. There actually is/was an announcer school. Chad Nicholson, who passed away here a couple years ago, He put on a school each January, held it kind of in conjunction with Fort Worth, and he'd bring people, you'd pay a tuition, come for a couple days, and he'd go through in a classroom setting and talk about everything from how to build an opening to how to, present yourself. I think he even touched on, booking rodeos, signing contracts, that kind of thing. And then one night, kind of as a treat to all the students, they'd come to Fort Worth to the rodeo and listen to Bob and Doug, meet them guys and kind of hang out and stuff. So, yes, there actually was. Nope, there hasn't been one since he passed away, but there was a rodeo announcers seminar.
Yeah. There's a clown college, too.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Rumford's done a few of those.
Yeah. Well, okay, but it's important, right? Because you got to have the rodeo announcer. I just wonder, have you ever had conversations with people, what's the next stage of rodeo announcing?
Yeah, so it's weird for me because I'm in a unique situation that I honestly have never nodded my head. I have never competed. I tried a little bit of stuff at home, I slid the steer saver dummy, roped, rode steers, kind of try a little bit of everything, and just never found anything that just got my adrenaline going. Never just had that moment of this is what I want to do.
Right. You're one of those rare people who never really got the rodeo bug.
Right.
So you never went broke.
Yeah. Well, that helps. But it was just weird because I had the rodeo bug, but it just wasn't in the arena.
Right.
And then I went to my first rodeo when I was 2 weeks old. And so I've been around it all my life. And the announcer stand is always what caught my eye. Hey, that guy up there, he's still a part of rodeo. He presents it to new fans every week. And biggest little caveat, he gets a for sure paycheck when he leaves the house. So that's where I wanted to be, and that's what I set goals to do. And shoot, when I was about 6 or 7, I started doing the slack at rodeos when I'd go with mom and dad. And at the age of 12, I did my first full IPRA sanctioned rodeo. It was Butler, Missouri. I was nervous as you could possibly imagine. And shoot, it's been gangbusters ever since. And so I say all that to say this. I'm in a very unique situation that Clem McSpadden and Justin McKee both said one time, a long time ago, that Garrett is one of the very few people to grow up wanting to be a rodeo announcer. A lot of guys do it at the end of a competition career. Kind of prime example right now is good buddy of mine, Blue Jeans, who is hanging up his bullfighting cleats this year and going to transition to be an announcer. And Blue's going to do a great job, but that's just another example of a guy that on the end of their rodeo career becomes an announcer.
Yeah, Joe B.
You're right.
Prime example.
Yeah, exactly. And so I am very fortunate to be growing up in this, and I've seen a lot of the change. I've seen, the styles of Randy Corley to Tallman to Boyd to, and like you said a minute ago, Brandon Bates. All of those guys are so different. Bates obviously spending those nearly 2 decades in the PBR, and they mold their announcers a little different. I worked for the PBR for about 4 years. They were very good to me. They sent me to Canada. They sent me to Australia 4 times. But it's a different setting. It's not the cliche rodeo announcer, big sales. It's a lot more storylines and stuff. And that's where, the PBR, and take the NFR, for example. One thing that I wish the NFR could do better and it is the storylines of the athletes. And Boyd last year tried to do some more of that with the little vignettes and stuff. But as we all know that have been there, that rodeo moves so fast.
I mean, you're in and out of there 90 minutes to watch. I mean, TV is way behind, but you're in and out. You got enough time to go get 2 of the $13 beers.
Exactly right. And they stopped selling at the start of the calf roping.
Yep.
No, it's 120 runs in an hour and 50 minutes. I mean, it's incredible. Plus, they do the flags and the stagecoach and, the barrel truck. I mean, it's not obviously just rodeo, but that's pretty much it. So 120 runs in, 120 minutes, say. But then the PBR, like their world finals, it'll be 35, 40 bulls in 180 minutes, 150 to 180 minutes. So they really have a lot more time to tell storylines, and that's why they've been able to create that more true fan base of their athletes. Yes, it's a lot smaller group of athletes. It's, like I said, 35 to 40 guys that you see on television every week consistently. But I do wish that we had more time. But with television and all that, I get it. I mean, TV's kind of what pays the bills to a certain extent. So, yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I wish we could put into our announcer style there. You can do it at regular rodeos because they don't move as fast. But that's one thing that I try to do is, and I'm guilty as the next guy of not being perfect at it, but is telling those stories. Because I can sit there all day long and tell somebody that, you know, Haley's a 2-time world champion back-to-back, won the American twice. You know, Ivy's been to the NFR X number of times. And that's cool. Like, that's great. But the average fan in the stands, they can't relate to that.
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny because that has been the topic on this show over and over. And you had mentioned how much in fact, I think you said that the Bobby Motes podcast was your favorite podcast ever.
Yep, absolutely.
Say that in the microphone.
Yes. So I will say, he's not making that up. When we were sitting here getting ready to do this, I said the Bobby Mote podcast is one of my favorite ever because it answered. I had exactly the same questions you did. Tell me the ERA story, because I was very curious in how it all formed, ran, disassembled, you know, dissolved.
Because it all happened so fast.
It did.
Like when they jumped on the scene, I will never forget, and I said it on that podcast, like when I started seeing that, the ads on Facebook was like, this is freaking sweet. Like Rodeo needs something this fresh.
And it was a more or less made for TV series. The only thing that I will say that I disagreed with on the ERA was the fact of what did they bring to the growth of rodeo that they could not have contributed to the Champions Challenge Tour?
Sure.
Because it was already a made for TV, here's the best in the world, come to these cities, that kind of thing.
Well, so their approach was, right, by Cowboys for Cowboys kind of thing, right? And it was to create another outlet to make more money, right? So when you have 80 of the best in the world come up and try to create something, and I mean, it's to get more money in people's pockets, right? Because that's the biggest problem with rodeo is like, you compare rodeo and PBR, the PBR guys make so much more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's really interesting because what Bobby Mote said on that podcast is our big mistake was assuming that we were famous.
Yep. I remember a few years ago at the NFR, I can't remember exactly who, it may have been Casey Field. Went out on the street deal, almost did like the Jimmy Kimmel thing where they go out and just talk to people on the streets and stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Was it Casey?
It might have been Tim O'Connell.
Maybe Tim. Somebody.
One of them talked to me about it. I can't remember which one.
And I remember they went out and asked these, people said, what did you, like, example, what did you think of Casey Fields running the barrel racing last night? And people just, I thought it was great. Like, they don't know who those people are.
Yep.
So it really put it into perspective that I don't ever want to say that we are a novelty, because I believe wholeheartedly that we are more than a novelty. I believe we are a sport. I believe we're the only sport that, takes more than one ball to play. But it really put it in perspective that we've got to really showcase who these people are outside of the arena. And like I said, I remember last year at the NFR, Hunter Cure did one of those little 15-second vignette videos before he ran, and it was about that when he left the trailer that morning, his daughter left him a little note that said, "Do good tonight, Dad." Personal stuff like that shows that, yes, they're superstar athletes, but they're also human. Because that goes back to the relativity thing. If I tell you somebody, was an all-star quarterback in high school, wrestled, made it to the state champion wrestling tournament, maybe let's say they, broke their leg or something on the mat and had to decide if they wanted to, go back to that or pursue a rodeo career, and they picked rodeo. Here they are. Now they're a world champion team rope or something like that. Somebody in that stands can sit there and go, hey, I played, football in high school. I've wrestled in high school. Man, I broke my leg too. Like, they know that relativity.
Right. Well, and here's the problem, right, is there's two ideological things going on at once, right? So there's the non-rodeo person who will never get behind rodeo because it is morally a problem because of the animal quote unquote abuse, right? We've all heard this spiel. And then there's all the way on the other side. It's actually the culture of rodeo and refusing to mold and adjust to the modern world, right? It's because when you get stuck in something that has so much history as rodeo, I mean, we see it all the time, right? You talk to a lot of people, people who run the Hall of Fame committees, things like that, and it's just like anything outside of the ordinary, it's like, I don't know if I like that. No, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
And so kind of the idea with the gauge, right? And the reason that we have non-rodeo people on the show, right? Like we had Kendall Jones and a bunch of these like social media influencers who maybe they're big time hunters, right?
Right.
It's strategic, right? It's, hey, let's bring them on, structure them in to our schedule with rodeo people, right? Because if somebody likes that, who's a fan of theirs, they listen to it, like, well, okay, let me check out this episode with Haley Kinzel. Who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, okay, I like this. Like, so there's strategic things that can be done to invite other people in to try and grow the sport of rodeo. I just don't know of anybody who's done that.
Yeah, I mean, like I appreciate tradition. I do. I appreciate the old wooden buck and shoots at Pendleton and the grass, running on the football field. And, and there is things in this sport that I appreciate, but I'll turn this completely 180 and say that our sport will die, whether it be next week, next month, next year, whatever. Our sport will die if we all have the mentality of that's the way we've always done it.
Well, absolutely. And so here's what's great, right? So people in our generation are coming up, right? There's people like you, these people like Haley Ivy, you name a cowboy, cowgirl who has a forward-thinking mind, people like me, our show, 12 Gauge Ranch, you can just start naming the people who are progressive thinkers for rodeo, right? The more that we all do collectively, the better for the sport. But we have learned in 2020 how fragile rodeo actually is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fragile, in fact. I mean, it was one of the biggest eye-openers for me because you can go back and listen to episodes and like, there is no way Cheyenne's not happening.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
It's literally recorded for all of time, me saying that. Well, I was fucking wrong.
Yeah.
As were probably you and everybody else. Like, there's no way. 140, however long. No, it's not going to happen.
So I remember, back in March, when we were at the American and all of us kind of just joking about all this. And then the next week, I was headed to the Time Event Championship in Guthrie, and I was watching the press conference from Houston, the city press conference.
When they shut it down.
When they pulled the plug, I thought, oh my God, we are up shit creek now.
Yeah, and well, in the vibe at the American,
it was weird.
So weird.
It was weird. Like, I mean,
I was there all 3 days, and it was just like,
yeah,
there's just not that many people in these stands.
No, it was. I mean, it's no secret. Ticket sales were down, and I think a lot of it was worry. And then you always try to in your mind put a positive spin on things. So I'm thinking, this will kind of run its course. 6 weeks, we're good to go. And about 6 weeks goes by, and things are still getting worse. And one of my rodeos that I do in September called and said, hey, what do you think we should do? You think we should cancel? I said, your rodeo's in September. We are in April. Like, if we're not rodeoing by then, we've got bigger problems. Fast forward, here we are, middle of August, and that rodeo canceled next month in September. Yeah, it ain't been good. I sat at home for 3 months this year and binged watched 13 seasons of Criminal Minds in a week and a half. I was in a very dark place back in the spring.
Well, it's funny because like all these statistics are coming out about like depression and suicide rates because of people doing just that. And it's
my God.
What's more deadly? Is it the sickness, or is it like the effects of this sickness? And it's just insane. I mean, I've been the denial guy. Mm-hmm. It's like every step's like, okay, I can't go any farther. Okay, I can't go any farther. I'm still like trying to convince myself of that, but now I'm like, let's just go to sleep until 2021 if that's a thing.
What's the old Green Day song? Wake me up. I'll just say wake me up when November ends.
Yeah. What is the song? Wake
me up when September ends.
Yeah, Green Day had some bangers back in the day.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time, I guess.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, gosh, they've been around forever, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a crazy time, and yeah, I mean, I was under that same kind of mentality you were, that rodeo, it's going to be around for 1,000 years, and all's good, and look at all these, like I said, traditional rodeos that are 100 years old, and I mean, even the ones that are 50 years old, like going strong, all's good, and then the screeching halt came, and I mean, I really had to. I'm 25, and I already had to start thinking about life after rodeo. And some other contract personnel friends of mine, we all kind of got together and we're like, hey, this is kind of like a big time eye opener for what's to come when we do actually, quit from the sport. And it really got us kind of putting some things in motion for a little kind of nest egg and stuff. And yeah, it really, I think, opened a lot of eyes to how fragile, and I'm going to say not just our livelihood is, a lot of people's livelihood.
Well, the livelihood of every single athlete, every single stock contractor, committee member, announcer, what have you, totally froze in time. Like, what do you do if all you've ever done is rodeo, right? You just work at a feed store? I don't know.
I'll take it even further outside of rodeo and say, like, obviously they get paid a lot more than we do, but like, concert singers, like George Strait's probably okay in life right now.
Well, think about like the red dirt guys around
here. Like Josh Ward, who's a friend of mine. He, I've not talked his financial status, but him and I'll talk back and forth every few weeks, just checking on each other, like, hey, are you back going yet? And no, not yet. And then here in the past month, we've finally been able to tell each other, yeah, we got a few gigs coming up. We got a few rodeos coming up. So those guys, yes, even though those level of entertainers get paid hopefully more than we do in rodeo, it's affecting their livelihood also.
Well, and I can speak to that directly because we had a bunch of country singers booked who've all of them have canceled, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people cancel as soon as like the day they're supposed to fly in because their gigs got screwed up, and they're like, we got to sit by the phone and we have to make money. Sorry, I can't fly to Fort Worth right now. It's like, no, I get it, totally, because I'm paying you. But,
so then you guys booked me, and I'm here just to fill the gap. That's okay.
Yeah, I found out you were coming 30 minutes ago.
Passing through, yeah.
It worked out great. Hey, I'm going down 121. Can I swing by? Sure.
Yeah, be there in 5. But yeah, it's nuts. I mean,
it is, yeah. And one of my favorite things though is being able to talk to people who actually have a forward mindset like you, right? Because it's those people who aren't afraid to say that stuff who can help it affect the sport in a positive way. It's just really hard to kind of figuratively rally the troops to actually affect any type of change, because we see things happen, right? Like we see the ERA attempt, we see the WCRA, which is actually working, we see like the Cowboy Channel buyout deal, which I would be curious what your opinions are of CBS Sports and now Cowboy Channel. I would really actually like to know your opinion on.
You want to know right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so and I'm gonna preface this with I appreciate the Cowboy Channel. Obviously I work for them. I've done the American the past couple years. I'll put it kind of in a little bit of a basket with a nice pretty bow. You take the NFL, for example. They have the NFL Network. It's great. They show content all the time, old reruns, a few games. I think Thursday Night Football's on NFL Network, whatever. There's a reason that the Super Bowl is not on the NFL Network. Think about that. I love the Cowboy Channel. I have the app. I paid the subscription, the $89.99 a month for CowboyChannelPlus.com. And I have it. Matter of fact, I was watching it this morning before I left, just checking in on the Slack from Baker, Montana. But what we're not going to get with the Cowboy Channel, and I hope that by December, this is going to air in August sometime. I hope that by December I'm wrong. But with the Cowboy Channel, we're not going to catch the casual sports viewer. Meaning that when you are headed to Vegas or from Vegas, whatever, when you sit down at the bar in the airport to grab a quick drink and you look up at the TV, what are they going to have on? CBS Sports. Not the Cowboy Channel. So I love that we're getting to watch, Dodge City, Sykeston, Lawton, back up to, Cody and all them rodeos over the 4th. But I just fear that we're not going to grasp the suit and tie, just general sports fan that's flipping through CBS Sports, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, the package that he's got, and catch rodeo and go, hey, that's kind of cool. And then, because just like that, the NFL, when they catch casual sports fans with the Super Bowl, then if they think, hey, that football game was pretty good, maybe I really liked that team that won. I really liked those Chiefs. They were a pretty good underdog story. I want to watch some more, kind of follow them a little bit. Then they grab them over to the NFL network. And I think there's where our potential could be, that when you turn on the NFR in December on CBS Sports and Tim O'Connell's, let's say he matches up against Killer B again in the 10th round for a world championship like they did in Lawton, and he goes 90+ again, and you've got a guy that goes, holy cow, that was awesome. I really like that guy. He did a really good job. And then he finds Tim O'Connell on social media, whatever, because Tim does a good job with his social media. And Tim's one of those guys that he'll post the little kind of weekly picture deal saying where he's going to be, and if you can watch it.
Puts his schedule up.
Yep, puts his schedule up and says, where he's going to be, and if you can watch it on the Cowboy Channel or whatever. So then that guy's going to go, hey, that guy, I can watch him, on the Cowboy Channel this week. And then jumps over to Channel 232 on Dish, and there we have a new viewer of the Cowboy Channel. That's where I think we're missing the one boat. But like I said, I love the premise of the Cowboy Channel. I think it's great. I think it's great that even though Slack is, as we all know, boring, I think it's great that if you've got a friend or family member or something, like if Ivy was up in Baker, Montana this morning, you could have got on there and watched her.
Yep.
You never, those rodeos that they can make it work, you never miss a ride or run, which I think is great for friends, family, or even a fan. But at the end of the day, like I said, there's a reason that the Super Bowl is not on the NFL Network.
Yeah, so here's what's nice. It's nice when people agree with you, because I agree too. Like I love the idea of a Cowboy Channel. I like the idea of RFD when that came out. It's all good. The issue is the viewership numbers and then the demographic of those viewers. It's a very old crowd who watches the Cowboy Channel. And there's a lot of cable networks that don't even have it. Like my in-laws, for instance, they love watching the NFR. They're not rodeo people. They live in town in Colorado. They don't have the Cowboy Channel. They got CBS Sports.
Right. And is it going to be worth it to them to upgrade their subscription for that one channel?
No, they wouldn't do that. Most people wouldn't, because the cable, the packages and the expense of cable now, it doesn't work. So it's good that the Cowboy Channel has the app.
True.
I like that thing. As they grow, I'm sure they'll have more daily content. There's just not, what do they have, 18 shows now, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. They're kind of what do they call them, pillar shows or whatever. Obviously, Western Sports Roundup and the Pro Rodeo Tonight. And I got to give them credit on the Pro Rodeo Tonight deal.
Right.
They've been doing a good job with more of those stories. Like they did one, I think, on Emily Miller. They did one on Chad Rutherford. They've done a handful now that I thought were really good. Evan Jane, they just did one on Evan Jane, the bareback rider. And it's really cool, like I said earlier, to get the personal side of these athletes. Because, again, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that, Tim O'Connell's a 3-time world champion and, whatever. But the real story right now, and Casey Field a little bit too, the real story is their injuries and their comebacks a year ago to go, 4th of July, they don't have a penny won. I guess Casey did a little bit, but Tim did not. Didn't have a penny won to top 10 in the world. That is an incredible sports comeback story. Take Chase Outlaw. Go back to the PBR for a minute. You can say, went to the PBR finals X times, been 90+ points X times, but the story there is getting his face shattered in Cheyenne, X number, umpteen surgeries, nearly triple digits of screws and stuff in his face, and then comes back 1 year later at that event and wins the PBR in Cheyenne. That's the story that grabs people. That's like, holy cow, that guy's tough as nails.
Oh, man. Is there anybody tougher than that guy? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
I'll say it right now. No.
Yeah. Guys, it's not audio only. The Gauge is on YouTube. Every single episode's on YouTube. We got 4K cameras, the best stuff. Check it out on YouTube if you want to see faces. Bright, smiling faces. We don't just use this lighting for nothing. We video it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. Lots of people are watching the videos, but not a lot of people are subscribing. Please help me. Help us. Help the Gauge. Subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, the air conditioning works here. It's good. It's like 105 today.
Yeah. It is warm in Texas.
It is brutal in Texas right now. I can't wait to be like complaining about being cold. Isn't that funny how that works?
Yes.
As soon as it's freezing, you're like, God, I would love for the heat. As soon as it's hot, it's like, get this shit out of here. The human brain is a mess.
Yeah. At least, I'll say this. At least when it's cold, you can layer up. Like, there's really no limitation to how many layers you can put on. There is a limitation to how many layers you can take off.
Without pain, yes, sir.
Without pain, yes.
Yeah, it's funny because when I moved to Texas from Colorado, one thing people always told me is like, oh, you've got that thick blood because of the altitude. You're not going to do well in the heat down here. It's like, that's not a thing. Blood's blood. No, that's a thing. It's a thing. I don't know if it's a real thing, but it definitely feels like a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually tried to take off skin, not on purpose this summer. I got the worst sunburn of my entire life over the 4th of July. Like, I never actually went to the doctor, and I'm not a real one. I just played one in a movie once, but I'm pretty sure I had, like, 3rd-degree burns.
From skiing?
I was on a jet ski all day.
Jet ski.
Yeah, but, I mean, on the lake, on a body of water, no sunscreen, like an idiot.
I say I'm from Colorado. When you say skiing, I usually think snow.
No, jet skiing, water. Yeah. Sorry.
It's fine.
I'll clarify next time.
No, it's totally fine. This is your story.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't a very good one. I mean, that was pretty much it. I was just saying that it hurt real bad.
I rode a jet ski one time and got sunburned.
Yeah.
Who can relate?
See, that's relativity. I'm sure somebody that's going to listen to this go, man, I had a bad sunburn one time on a jet ski.
And we've come full circle. That's how you do it, folks. Don't talk to us about your world championships. Talk about your sunburns.
That's right.
It's kind of funny. It's like when we were doing the Haley Kindle thing. It's like, all right, this is enough of the Buc-ee's talk.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, everybody can relate to Buc-ee's.
See?
Yeah, not me.
Except for you, of course.
Yeah,
to this day,
we're still going to take you to Buc-ee's.
Yeah, well,
You don't have to go far around here.
It's on my short list of wonders of the world at this point. So,
well, I mean, if you ask Haley, it's the 8th wonder of the world, so.
Well, yeah, I think she owns stock.
Probably.
It's funny because a couple people, I just got random mail and got those Beaver nuggets. Yeah, someone gave me that for my birthday, Beaver nuggets.
Nothing like opening your mailbox and there's a package of Beaver nuggets.
Yeah, in fact, I should put them in here next to the
Texas
Wyoming
thing.
whiskey.
I mean, that's about it.
Happy birthday. Here's a bag of Beaver nuggets. Do yourself a favor. Open these up.
That's as Texas as it gets right there, people.
It's a fact. And it all came because she had to bring that up.
No, it was Emily Miller that brought it up, and then
Haley took it to another level.
Is that how that went?
Yes.
You probably have it on video somewhere.
I do.
Yeah.
Because Emily brought it up in her episode, but then we recorded Haley's episode right after hers.
Oh, that's right. She barged in during somebody else's episode.
Yes.
That's very rude.
She acts like she's a world champion or something.
A world champion what? We just talked about nobody knows anybody who rodeos.
That's true, yeah.
For all you know, it could be ping pong. She might be good at ping pong.
Champion Buc-ee's customer. I don't know.
No, I don't think she has the body type for that. I would imagine it looks a little different.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Dynamite comes in small packages. I don't know.
Probably not if you spend a lot of time at Buc-ee's. There's this thing called the Human Metabolism. It can only handle so many Beaver nuggets.
So many Beaver nuggets.
What, but they have that. Don't they have the thing where you like can scoop the candy out by the pound?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah. I remember the first Buc-ee's I went in, and it just like, I went in, grab something to drink, go to the bathroom, whatever, and the store just kept going and going and going, and I was like, is this place like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory? Like, it just never ends? Like, you just keep finding more doors to go in? And it was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to go. I don't like that kind of pressure.
Keep your phone on you when you go in case you get lost.
It's a good idea.
Just trying to help.
So much food, clean bathrooms, crap ton of merchandise too. Just
I love how he went from clean bathrooms, and then his next analogy is crap ton.
All right. Drink a lot of coffee today, Ty?
unfortunately, no. I don't drink coffee.
Nice segue.
What do you drink? Red Bulls?
No, not in the morning. In mornings, usually. So the best way to wake up in the morning, what I've found out, is drink a lot of water. Just chug a gallon of water if you can.
When you wake up?
Yes.
For what purpose? It's just to be hydrated?
It just kind of cleans your system out, wakes you up. It's worked for me. Whenever I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the radio station when I worked there.
Drink a gallon of water and clear the crap, as they say.
Yes.
Wait, 5 o'clock comes twice a day?
Apparently not for you.
Yeah, I try to keep from it.
Try. Hey.
I'm allergic to the first 5 a.m. that comes, or the first 5 o'clock that comes in the day.
But yeah, I don't drink coffee at all.
Huh.
I don't like the taste of it, and I don't want to get addicted to it either.
It's probably smart. And they say don't drink coffee when you're 14 years old. It stunts your growth.
Okay, asshole.
So where were we? Once again, the gauge gets completely derailed, always, whether it's Buc-ee's or conspiracy theories or just...
Yeah, I don't know.
Booze.
Booze?
I'm saying we always talk about booze sometimes.
Because we're usually drinking it.
Yeah, I would like to apologize to you guys, and I would also like to congratulate myself on bringing you guys in for the Gauge podcast before noon.
Is this the first one before noon?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Usually they're in the evening.
Sorry for ruining the whole mojo. I mean, you got this really nice bar set up here, and don't really get to use it.
No, I mean, we're using it.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're using it, but not to its full potential.
No partial potential. But, I mean, I saw you got a truck and trailer out there, so...
That's right.
You want to back into a pole.
That is true, yeah. I'm sure if I had to call the rodeo that I'm headed to this week and say, you're not going to make it. I made friends with a light pole. All
right, so if we were using the full bar, what would be your go-to drink?
Ooh. If I got to pick anything or just what's on the selection?
Yeah,
here?
let's say anything.
Say Pendleton. We're doing a deal with them.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Actually, I was going to say Pendleton and water if we're talking whiskey. And then if whiskey's off the table, go Buckle Beer. Try the new Super Light. Or Michelob Ultra.
Oh, there's ultras in there right now.
Yep.
Yeah, low calorie, lightweight.
That's right. The athlete's beer is what I call it.
Nearly every cowboy and cowgirl I know drinks Ultra. I don't know where that came from, especially barrel racers.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, but you go to a fraternity and it's like just those Ultras.
Yeah. I get made fun of for drinking the lime Ultras, but I love them. I think they're good.
Why do you get made fun of?
I don't know. People like they say that's a sissy beer. Like, well, I don't care, but it tastes good.
I don't have a sissy voice.
Yeah. Okay.
How many people tell you like they hear your voice, but when they see you, they're like your voice doesn't match your face?
Well, I can honestly never say I've heard that. Usually people put a lot more polite spin on it and say, you have an announcer's voice.
Wow, Chance.
And they stop there. So thanks.
No.
Thanks for just...
No, not at all.
I mean, I firmly understand I have a face for radio, so that's why
Nope, that's not what I mean.
I was excited about this podcast. Like, that's a voice thing.
No.
And then I saw y'all do the video thing. I was like, oh, my God.
I'm going to backpedal now. No, that's not what I was saying. You just have like you're very young, of a young, vibrant face.
Oh.
But you got the Bob Talman voice.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you then. I'll take back my...
Yeah, don't get so defensive. I know we're in like cancel culture. Everybody be defensive, but for God's sakes, Garrett, you don't have to be so defensive. This is a safe place.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're Ty, because he gets brutally attacked on every single episode.
I get brutally attacked every day I walk in here.
Well, I mean, every show's got a punching bag. So,
unfortunately.
Yeah, but you also present very good data. You handled yourself very well with the political talk with Kendall Jones. So I did brag about you to some people.
Well, thank you.
Everybody was on her side, but I still bragged about you.
I'll take that.
Yeah, that was fun, actually. Listening to it again, that was really fun. I don't know if you heard that one yet. But
no.
You ever hear like a bunch of people talk about like the deep state and a bunch of political stuff, but actually have no facts to back up what they're saying?
Yep.
That was that.
Oh, nice.
So like most people's political conversations.
Sounds like it went well.
Yeah. But I mean, it's hard not to get drug into that every single time you speak because it's just in your face everywhere.
It is. Yep. So talking about not to get off topic or change, but a story popped into my head.
Yeah.
So talking about the whole voice doesn't match thing. I remember one of the first rodeos that I did in my teenage years. My dad used to go with me before I was old enough to drive. My dad used to go with me, and he would do the music for me at the rodeos and stuff. And so this lady comes up to the announcer stand one time and has a note, something, whatever. And she comes over to my dad and hands it to him and goes, Can you announce this, please? And he goes, you have to go talk to the announcer. She goes, oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was you. He goes, no, it's, that guy's standing there. And she's like, no, really, where's the announcer? He goes,
Wow.
Him. And she's like, okay. And then, so she walks over there and she says, hi, are you the announcer? I said, yeah. And she goes, oh my gosh. She goes, you're like a child. I'm like, thanks, I think. She goes, but you do a great job. I'm like, good save. What can I do for you? And then she hands me the note and stuff. So yeah, I do get that a lot. That when I was like in my teenage years and stuff, like I did kind of get that. Not in that way that you presented it.
Yeah, so
but
eloquently. Yeah, eloquently.
You have a way with words, sir.
Yeah. Sometimes I do, sometimes I do not. And offending people is like my specialty. But it's important to do that, right? Because you're not supposed to offend anybody now. So it's just go against the current, just offend everybody.
Right, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. You can't do it. I mean, you are in an industry where you have to be PC.
Oh my gosh, it's hard.
Lucky
sometimes.
for me, podcast, no censorship. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, it's difficult sometimes.
It's got to be. Yeah, I mean, when you're regulated like that, especially when you have such a colorful personality.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings me to another point.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of offending people, I think that is one other way that our sport needs to grow. In that, when you're watching Sports Center and they're talking about players, basketball players, they will call them out. Like when they say, man, this guy's having a terrible, season, he's whatever, they'll throw his stats out there and stuff. And they'll be like, he can't hit water if he fell out of a boat,
Okay,
stuff
well,
like
let's
that.
talk about the American in March.
Oh, geez. He's going to turn this around on me, isn't it?
Probably.
You got feedback.
I did. Now, remember, folks, before he says what he's going to say, there's 3 announcers at the American, okay? So go ahead.
Collectively. I'm not even going to single a single person out. Just collectively.
Okay. Just throw us all under the boat at one time.
Well, yeah, it's better to do it that way. Right? We're rather sync with friends.
We can share the burden.
Again, welcome to my world.
Okay, let's hear it.
No, it's not a criticism. It's just funny to hear because Cowboys never get criticized.
Right.
By the
that's where I was going with this.
But you guys did it at the American.
Okay, what did we say?
Well, I can't remember specifics, but like, oh, so-and-so had a tough run or blah, 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 hadn't won any money. I don't remember the exact. You know what I'm talking about.
Actually, I don't. Because, So finish your story and I'll tell you why I don't.
Yeah, I don't have specifics because it was so long ago, but I'm sure we could pull it up. But there were some criticisms of the athletes, right? Direct criticisms during the broadcast. I didn't have a problem with it because I wasn't being criticized. But
okay, now again, not trying to pass the buck because I appreciate you bringing this up, but I just want everybody to realize before they start sending their hate mail. There's a different broadcast team on TV than there is in-house.
Correct.
Okay, so are you saying it was TV that was criticizing?
No, it was in-house.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't watch it on TV. I was there live, but I had talked to a few people. I'm like, God, they sure were being critics.
But that's the deal. Is again, if Cowboys want to be treated and Cowgirls want to be treated like professional athletes, they're gonna have to take the criticism. Like, because here's the deal. Going back to the new fan thing, you've got to somehow explain to a new fan the difference in a 70-point ride and a 90-point ride. When you're just watching bull riding and you don't know the difference, you've got to tell them, hey, folks, watch this replay back. You're going to see he was not spurring. He was out of position. His body was not, in control. That's why he was 75 points versus, you just watched whomever, J.B. Mooney or whomever, that was, opening up with his outside leg, spurring the animal in perfect form, chest bowed out in, perfect position. That's why he's 90. Or talk about the bulls. Hey, that bull had a bad day. He wasn't kicking. He wasn't spinning very fast. Or a bucking horse, same deal. He wasn't kicking out. He wasn't carrying much ground. He was kind of just running around the arena. Like, somewhere you've got to break it down as, even though, we're not television broadcasters, we are still sports broadcasters. And think about this too. Rodeo is the only sport that the in-arena broadcaster talks the whole time. You know, football, they'll say, number 74, Chance Conrado, 5-yard gain, you know, first down, whatever. And that's it. Basketball, same way. You know, tie with the 3-point shot, you know, good for whatever. But rodeo, we are the only ones that we talk consistently. And so we are broadcasters in the sense that we have to dissect rides and runs, and we got to show people what they did right, and we've got to turn around and show people what did wrong.
Well, so it's easy with timed events, right? Because it's just a clock.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But when it comes to rough stock, the layman person, even if you know rodeo, right? Let's say you're at timing, it's very hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard to tell the difference between that 75 and that 90-point ride, especially in bull riding, because the whole thing just seems so out of control when you're watching it in the stands.
It's controlled chaos.
Yeah, it just is. You know, it's easier with bareback riding's easier to score, right? Saddle bronc riding's easier to score because there's certain cues you can look at to see if they did right.
Right.
But bull riding is just such a chaotic thing that you can't, at least me, I just have a hard time telling what's going on, like from a judge's standpoint with bull riding.
And like, you know, timed events and stuff, I think probably, and this is just my opinion, so don't everybody hate me for it. I think Joe Beaver is the greatest timed event commentator of all time because he knows how to break it down. Like, you know, he can take a replay and show you how a guy mishandles his slack, or, you know, like a barrel racer or something.
Because he taught so many of them.
Well, yeah, that helps. I mean, like team roping and stuff, you know, healers, he can dissect if they have their, you know, their tip down and, you know, in the right form and stuff. But again, I mean, it's if it's right there in front of you, like, it's not like we're making it up. Like, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And like anything in life, you got to learn from the bad experiences and make yourself better. And then even on a good day, there's always something to learn. You know, I've had performances where I thought, man, I did really good tonight, but there was always something that I thought I could do better.
Right.
And then there's been obviously nights too, and I was like, "Whoo, boy, I hope I was not getting critiqued tonight because it was not good." But yeah, I mean, I'm sure. And the reason I kind of joked about, no, I don't remember, you know, the incident you're talking about, because I mean, my style is if I see something that is, you know, blatantly they could have done better, like take a bronc rider not spurring an animal, I will call them out on it. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not picking on that person. I'm just trying to help educate the fans of why his score was
it has nothing to do. You don't even have to put a face on the athlete who's doing it, right? It's you're trying to give play-by-play feedback so that the person listening or watching or whatever actually understands.
Exactly.
So it's not a shot. And that's rodeo is such a small culture. It's like, oh, Garrett said a mean thing about my stuff. You know,
right.
You know, I'm not even saying anybody's ever said that, but just as an example.
Nope. Yeah.
It's true. But you're right. So you're very forward in your thinking, and you know the nice thing about you being so young is you'll be able to do this for a long time, and hopefully we're having another conversation in like 5 years where the sport's like triple the size.
I hope so.
I hope so. I think that's probably the goal of what I call the new guard. Everybody who's kind of coming in and shaking things up as these other people start retiring and things overturn, and it'll be really interesting to see when we get to the day where there's like, you know, CEOs and presidents who are in their 30s and stuff who come from like our age demographic who will eventually be running those things. What changes are gonna come? Because that's the key. The rodeo has to be more inviting.
Yes.
It has got to be more inviting. You have got to get more people, like a Ty, for instance, right? Like he's a perfect example because he comes from no rodeo background. Now he's like been entrenched in it for 2.5 months. Right, he's learned a lot. He's actually interested in these episodes. He gives good feedback. Like, wow, I loved hearing about that stuff. Like, people are actually into it. Yeah, they just have to be invited into it so that they can understand it. Right, like he could not give 2 craps about rodeo before he came here. Loves basketball, right? Who doesn't? Yeah, but now that he understands the sport a little bit and gets it, he's like, this is really interesting. The culture is really exciting. The history is really exciting. The events are exciting. Like barrel racing is probably the coolest horse race. Like set aside the whatever about, it's a freaking 3-point horse race. It's cool to watch it. An animal of that caliber do anything. Yeah.
Okay, so Ty, I'll put you on the spot.
All right.
Like if there was, I mean, as I'll just say, as an outsider to this lifestyle, as for me, like a broadcaster of the sport, if there was one thing you could tell us to do better that you think would grow to outside people, what would it be?
Same thing that Chance said. Be more inviting, and then some other conversation that you guys were referring to earlier was get it to broadcast networks. Get it. Don't keep it within your circle. You need to get it out to where everyone can see it, aka CBS Sports. You need.
Well, I mean, the CBS Sports thing was going on for a long time.
Yeah,
they
and
just transitioned away from that.
But and I think that's not going to help, in my opinion.
Right.
Being a broadcaster myself, where if you're transitioning to something that's much more of it's closed circle. It's not distributing out to outsiders. It's not distributing out to people that are like just like me, that don't really know anything about the sport. Like, I honestly didn't know where I can watch the sport, and that's where you need to be able to distribute it much better than they have in the past.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just rodeo seems really closed off, right, to the land.
is.
It's so subcultured, which
We're
is not a
we're
bad
150
thing.
years old and still only talk to each other. I mean,
It's true. Yeah. So here's what's interesting, right? I always use the UFC as an example because I'm a huge fan of that too. Mid 90s, and now it's one of the absolute largest sports in the world. That is so young.
yep.
Of a sport to be as big as it is. They did everything right. Now, okay, granted, these are two human beings bashing each other's face in and like doing high-level martial arts. So there's a level of excitement there that you're just not going to capture. Well, the PBR is close, right? Same company.
Yeah.
But rodeo, like there's always going to be a roadblock with steer roping, tie down, and team roping.
For sure.
There's going to be a segment of the population that's never going to go. But as I say on every freaking podcast when we get into this, it's the people in the middle, the gray area. There's going to be a lot of people who love their steaks medium rare. They don't care if you're roping them. And you might be able to explain to them how well the stock's actually cared for. So, hey, you think that these things are tortured? Well, they get the best supplements and best food to keep them performing well. You couldn't even understand that because the feedlot cow you just chewed on was a antibiotic up mess.
Right.
So there's people who you can explain that to. And if they see the performances of the animals and the athletes, like there's a broad group of people who can come in. It's not Stacy and Jeff from Cheyenne, Wyoming, who've had the same seats at Thomas and Mack for the last 30 years and are going to do it until they die. Well, what about the people on the street? Like, what about getting people in there who know nothing about it?
Yeah.
It's just that inviting and exciting that they want to be a part of it.
That's a very interesting point because there is a part of, well, there's actually multiple parts where we are our own worst enemy because selling out the NFR every year for 30 plus years, whatever, is fantastic. Not going to discount it. But like you said, there is, what do you think the percentage in that building is of people that come every night, every year?
Well over 60%.
I agree. So I say that to say this. They are strangleholding the market. They are the ones that are not allowing the people off the seat because, I mean, again, it's great that we're sold out and it's great that those people have those seats. But think about this. Let's say if half of those people that we talk about that go every night, every year, if half of those people would give up their seats one night, 2 nights, whatever, there's another 10,000 per night of new people that could potentially come see our sport. Hello.
Right. So, but here's the problem with a statement like that, right? Is you can't tell somebody to give up their seats at AT&T Stadium for the Cowboys, right? So they should still be able to do the exact same thing. But because if they give up those seats, what's the guarantee that somebody's going to want to sit them?
True.
So there's that side of it.
That's the risk you run, is not selling the seat.
Well, correct. And that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. They are not going to risk not selling out Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. Except for this year because it's not Vegas. But whatever. Yep. So how do you bring in that other group of people as well and also keep,
You got to keep your loyal fans happy. You got to keep, your diehards happy. But you're right. How do you get new people in there?
Right. I mean, how do you get somebody like Ty who can walk in his Vans and his skinny jeans and sit next to Butch with his 10-gallon on and not have, Butch act like a whack job because somebody different's next to him?
Right.
Yeah, that's the question. It's a cultural thing.
Yep.
Right. It's the same thing on the other side, but that's the huge question mark at the end of every sentence that involves growth with rodeo. And it's really hard to have very much depth to this conversation because there's not a good answer, right? Because Thomas and Mack is maxed out at where it is, but I don't know if it's raffling tickets, if it's what. How do you?
I guess you could go to the Raiders Stadium and have a bunch of new seats.
Could you imagine that? I mean, could you imagine if they sold out that? I mean, that would be huge, tremendous growth. But it doesn't. It transcends 10 nights in Vegas. It transcends the stadium. It transcends all of that. That's not actually the issue, right? It's as a whole. There's so much content to absorb and so much to see with rodeo. It's how do you get the layman interested in a sport that's older than any other, except for maybe baseball, and present it to them in a way that's not 15-second clips or what have you.
Yep.
I have my ideas that we implement on this show, but that's only one outlet, and it's probably the never-ending conversation.
It is. I mean, and that's where you've got to have people that again, they're not living by that, well, that's how we've always done it mentality, because then we're not going to get any growth. What I said about telling those people you can't come every night, not realistic. I get that. Don't hate me for saying that. But I'm just saying.
It's a safe space. I'll say it again.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, that would be a way to, you could even take one section of the Thomas and Mack, one section of seats and say, all right, you cannot have a seat in this section for more than 2 nights of the 10, whatever. And there would be room for changeover. And yeah, it would only be a couple hundred people new every night, but that's still a couple hundred new we didn't have. And that's forward growth.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had another idea, right? It's celebrity ambassadors, right? Now, the problem is Hollywood doesn't really allow it, but there's so many people who have a background in, doesn't matter if they grew up on a ranch or a farm, their grandpa had horses. I mean, that's the hook, right? And that's what we use to get people on who aren't rodeo athletes. It's, you grew up on a farm or your grandparents rodeoed. I mean, it's enough to where they can relate to the Western lifestyle, but I think that there's something to be said about that, right? Take really, really famous people who might have a side passion. Like, I mean, look at The Rock. The dude has like a ranch or something like that, raises like bass and crap. Yeah. Why not be like, hey, we'd like to invite you to the NFR. We'll put you in a gold buckle seat. We'd love to give you a little airtime and have you just kind of check it out and see what you think. Like, reach out to these.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's been to the NFR the past few years.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's been to the NFR. Yeah. I mean, but there's not much coverage of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal to have these people from outside of the sport be interested enough. I mean, Kid Rock was at the American. That's cool, but that one kind of fits, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not like a shock.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the more of that there is, I think the better. So, anyway.
I'm trying to look. I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name. I think it's Burt Reynolds is who I'm trying to think of. No, that's not right. Anyway, that's kind of going to kill the story, but not really. So I was talking to Matt Burch the other day, who him and Anna are doing like guided hunts and stuff up at their ranch and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, kind of just small world thing come together. Some friends of theirs were talking to a famous actor. Oh my gosh, he was in Tombstone.
Which one? A bunch of them.
The original Tombstone, like with Kurt Russell.
Oh no, that's the only Tombstone. Which actor?
Not Kurt
Russell,
It was one. Yeah, it was one of the squad. The 4. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Somebody's screaming at their phone right now listening to this.
Sam Elliott, Val Kilmer,
Bill Paxton.
That's the only one.
It may have been Kurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it may have been. Anyway. And so they hooked him up with they're going to bring him out on a guided hunt and stuff. So now, they're going to get connected with Matt and Anna. I'm sure they're going to talk about, what do you do for a living? Oh, we're in the rodeo business. And, that may spark an interest in his, because obviously he's into the outdoorsy lifestyle or he wouldn't be going hunting. And then, get him hooked up with Matt. And good Lord, I hope Matt doesn't try to get him on a bucking horse or something. But yeah, I mean, it just, bridging the cultural gap and bridging, from Hollywood to our lifestyle, we may create a new fan.
Yeah, I mean, and if you can create even just a couple huge ambassadors like, hey guys, check this out, it makes a big difference, right? It's gonna be tough, right? Because the way Hollywood's set up, it's just anti everything that we kind of are about. But I don't necessarily think that every single person in Hollywood believes that, especially you're seeing the
Kurt
change.
Russell is who I was thinking of.
Yeah, and you're seeing kind of a change over there with people leaving, and it'll be interesting to see, because I think there's a lot of people who would entertain the idea of rodeo as a viewer from those backgrounds because of how neat it is. But
okay, so let's talk about the craze in this country right now. Yellowstone, and their rodeo involvement.
Yeah, I mean, they had Steiners on last week.
Yep.
Was that last week?
Casey and Tilden were on there.
Yeah, they were the pickup men or whatever. Yeah.
I was trying to think. There was somebody else. Oh, Randy Bloomer was on there. Then this week, there was somebody else that I saw on Facebook that was, rodeo person. Anyway, Bob Avila was on there, the reining horse guy. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they're like, oh, my gosh, I hate Yellowstone. None of that's real. I'll just say it. There's no barrel racer that's going to climb on their boyfriend in the hospital bed and mount them right there in the hospital and all that stuff. And I said, no, you're right. I said, that doesn't happen. There's a lot of stuff on there that doesn't happen. There's a lot of stuff that is very Hollywoodized that they try to portray for our sport. But think about this. Do you think that, let's take Tom Brady, for example. Do you think when Tom Brady sits at home and watches a football movie, you think he goes, yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. Yep, oh, that's accurate.
Okay, so just to totally take us to a different place. Tom Brady is one of the guys who produced that Religion of Sports documentary back a few years ago that Fallon, Sage, and my sister were on.
Really?
He was one of the producers of that. Now, they did a different sport every week, right? But they did rodeo. So, I mean, there's interest out there. But, yeah, anyway, sorry to derail you.
No, I mean, but I'm saying when you take athletes in other sports, like a Tom, when he watches a football movie, he's probably screaming at his TV going, that's not right. That's not how that actually is done, da-da-da-da. So there's Hollywoodization in every movie. That's why they're made in Hollywood. That's why there's actors involved. So I just wish people would not be so quick to criticize all the little things that are not right that portray our sport, because even though it hurts our feelings, I guess, a little bit, whatever, we find offense to it, it's still, it's getting out there on network television, Paramount Network. I mean, it's a big hit in this country right now. And again, if we get one new fan from it that goes to that sees Jimmy trying to ride a bareback horse and gets wrecked out, or whatever, that's one more fan than we had. So,
absolutely. You've got to appreciate all of these trends and romanticizations of romanticizations. That's probably not a word. Sounds fancy, but
sounds right.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Romanticizations. Yeah. I mean, it sounds really.
It's your podcast. I'm just a guest.
It's true. Yeah. So I'll say whatever I want. Romanticization.
Damn right.
It's getting worse the more times I say it. I don't like
it is.
Anyway, so that
people
that
romanticize the truth.
People that romanticize reality. Yeah. I mean, but you get to see it. That show Yellowstone absolutely romanticizes the Western way of life. There's lots of different fashion campaigns where the women are now dressing as cowgirls and stuff. And I mean, that's all great. You might not agree with no one would wear that with that in a cowboy hat. Dude, it doesn't freaking matter. At least it's a representation of what we offer. Oh, Kanye West shouldn't have a ranch in Wyoming. Cool. Who should then? Yeah. You know what I mean?
So talking about the hat thing, American Hats, they do a lot of those kind of fashion felt hats stuff. They trim the brim down, flat brim, put all the bows and ribbons and stuff on it. And I hear people every once in a while saying, that's not right. That's just ridiculous. And they shouldn't be, trimming them hats down like that. And they shouldn't be doing all these fashion, burning the edges, different things like that. And I asked somebody one time, I'd kind of had enough and maybe a few Pendleton and Waters, Letterbuck. And I said, let me get this straight. You don't want them appealing to a different customer base to sell more product, to make money, to keep building the product that you buy, and also sponsor rodeos and athletes and
because the more money they make, the more they reinvest
continue
in the
movement in our sport. So you don't want that. Is that what you're saying? And then it was like, oh, whoa, didn't think of it that way. Close-minded.
Correct. You didn't think of it past your own nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the normal, right? That's not just rodeo. That's just everybody. I don't agree with this, therefore I'm going to preach out against this. And now there's this platform called social media where you can say anything you want without being educated on it one bit with no potential for repercussions, right? And that's just one of those things. I mean, you see that all the time. You see people complaining about how you have to nominate for the WCRA when it's easier than sharing a post on Facebook.
Yeah.
But
And
that's just an example.
And so, okay, I don't know if you and I should get down this road together because you and I are on the same page on the WCRA. Like, I mean, we're not asking you to go to a whole nother tour of rodeos. We're not asking you to turn out over here to go over here. We're asking you, hey, you're already going to Lawton and Sykeston and Dodge City and all these rodeos. Just, hey, pay another little entry fee here, nomination fee as they call it, and we're going to count your points. If you win first there, you're going to win first in our book, and we're going to give you points for it. And then you come play at our 4 to 6 new events a year, and we're going to hand out, on a normal non-COVID year, we're going to hand out about $6 million this year. What do you think? And then there's people going, nah, no thanks.
Yeah, nah, it's hard.
What? What is wrong with you people?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Well, okay, there's a smaller group of non-supporters than there are supporters at this point because they like this money that they're rounded up to do that thing in Guthrie. I mean, that's a lot of money they're doing that right now.
Yeah, $12,500 for the old champ. Actually, as we're recording this Saturday.
Yep.
Single biggest paycheck for one run that will be awarded since Houston canceled.
100%. They were able to round that up and make that happen. Then they have the women's,
The WRWC.
not them, no, WCRA.
Well, but they're in the WRWC thing, the Women's Rodeo
Oh, yeah,
World
that,
Championship.
yeah. Yep, absolutely.
That thing that's coming up November in Las Vegas, 750,000 added.
Yeah,
3 women's
absolutely.
events.
Yeah, $60,000 for the first place. Yeah.
For more information, WCRARodeo.com.
Yeah, you must have heard the ad.
What? No way.
Anyway, I mean,
This is a natural pitch.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's fun because you and I agree on a lot of things. I should probably get somebody in here who doesn't agree with me and see how I handle that. But
There's one thing I wanted to mention when it came to the cultural thing, and I was thinking of a really good comparison. Basketball back in like the 70s and 80s was not the big sport that we know it as, and it was kind of just a low niche sport. But then suddenly the 90s, where they kind of had a cultural change. They kind of just had a different cultural change in the 90s, and that's where it blew up. And I think that's what rodeo really needs is just, like you said, it open up to a kind of a cultural change, not be closed-minded, and allow that to happen. Because if that happens, that again, you open up to such a huge audience and a bigger spectrum of people that will come into rodeo.
well, look at the UFC again. I use that as an example because they create these storylines with these people, like in the beefs, and I want a big rodeo beef, right? It's hard to have that because everybody's
we need
just
drama.
so nice, but there needs to be some dirty drama.
Let's talk about that. What is the last big rodeo rivalry since Fred and
Cody
Joe?
Fred.
And Cody. I mean, that, because, Joe was kind of headed out when that whole thing really started steaming up. But yeah, Cody
Fred
and
and Cody. That was the biggest one
That is why people went to the NFR, was to watch those last 2 tie-down ropers for 10 nights just knock heads.
It was a true rivalry.
Yes.
and
What's
there's
the
a
last one
bunch
since
of
then?
dirty drama behind it that only the people who were in the circles knew. But
Yeah.
could you imagine if that was televised?
I hope, and Jeff Metters has talked about this, and I hope like hell he can make it happen, is doing like a 30 for 30 style deal with those two and talk about that rivalry and back blood. That's a storyline that I'm telling you, I'm going to have my popcorn ready, and I'm going to watch every minute of that.
Trying to make that happen.
Hey-o.
Not easy.
I can see that. I can see it. You may want to put them on opposite sides of the bar.
Yeah, no kidding. But it's just that stuff is so exciting, right? Rivalries creates excitement. There's a lot to it, right? We need more personalities in rodeo,
But
right? Because
that goes back to people don't want to be criticized.
they don't want to be criticized and say, well, we've never done it that way. I know, but if you took your real personality, because like your real thing, I tell this to my sister because she has one of the biggest personalities, like real personalities ever. She could be the biggest star with how she acts when she's not like in interview mode or not like in rodeo mode. She's freaking hilarious. One of the funniest people ever. if you had people showcase those personalities without fear of persecution, it would blow everything up if people knew how these people are behind the scenes, right?
And I feel bad for like people that are in the quote unquote limelight in rodeo, that win all the time and stuff and get interviewed all the time. I feel bad for them because in those interviews, you don't get time to showcase your personality. Like NFR, take a go-around win, for example. It's, hey, tell us about your ride tonight. Oh, it was great. Horse really bucked, felt good to have a good start to the week. Okay, well, best of luck to you the rest of the week. That's it.
Yeah, well, it comes down to the interviewer, too. Not to throw anybody under the bus, but reading off teleprompter or whatever it is, like they're not actually excited for you because they're just ready for the next interview. It's just like if you get the right person doing that, and they're like how they do it in the UFC. I always talk about them because they're such a great example.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan grabs a guy by the neck and he's like, "This is freaking amazing! Look at what you just did! Like, how are you feeling right now?"
Yeah.
And you'll get different reactions. You're not from everybody. You're going to get well, my horse was good. Oh, calf was good. But thanks a lot. I'll take my check and go.
But sometimes, like, if I'm doing an interview with somebody that, I have more time than just hey, how was your ride tonight? If I get one that's a real dry personality, I almost, kind of pick on them a little bit just tease them a little bit about it. And it'll start to kind of loosen them up. They'll crack a smile and stuff and they'll start to loosen up. But that, like you said, that just shows their personality. People can just say, oh, that guy's kind of timid. And then maybe after a few interviews, he'll get more comfortable and break him out of his shell. But I think one of the cool things, when you go to Vegas is like Flint's show, where he, has an hour and he brings 3 guests out and, not one at a time, but brings them all 3 out, goes through them all. And there's a lot more time there to show personality, show sense of humor. And that's why his show is so popular, because people can get to know the athletes. I mean, my neighbor, Coleman Proctor, he's a fan favorite on that show because he does have, like you say, a big personality. And he did a little bit of TV stuff last year, the year before when he didn't make the finals. So he's gained a lot of fans just from people seeing his, joyous sense of humor and
it's so important though. Personality is the most important thing in longevity and growth of anything, right? You can look at Wade Sundell, dude.
Oh
that dude brings an energy not very many people do. It's like you can change the entire situation by having the right person in there with the right personality.
Absolutely.
And really, I think the right people with the right personalities need to be in those interview positions, right?
Sure.
Because your energy let's say you have somebody dry, right? But if you have the right energy, you can make that a more exciting experience for them.
Shoot, I remember the year at the American that Wade won the Triple Crown, the $1 million bonus, for winning it 3 years in a row. And, Amy's first question is, Wade, how are you feeling right now? And he just gets that big smile, that big shit-eating grin, and just looks around. And he says, "Hello, Dallas."
That's legend.
And the place just erupt laughter and cheer and stuff. And then just here a couple weeks ago, so the first week he was back rodeoing, I was doing the Extreme Broncs in Faith, South Dakota. And, of course, South Dakota, the breeding ground for bronc riders and the hotbed. We featured him in the opening, and all I said was, "Hey folks, there's one man that's here tonight that strikes more fear than the other bronc riders, and all I got to say is Wild Wade is back." And didn't even get out his name or his real name, his full name, and the place just went nuts. So that's like you're talking about. Those are those personalities that people have grasped onto, latched onto, and they're fans. They're Wade Sundell fans.
Yeah, and every discipline in rodeo needs that.
Yep, absolutely. Next topic of conversation. We were really going in some steam there.
Yeah, we were. Well, so that's
nope. You're done.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Your time's up. No, just kidding. But no, you're right though. Whoever said it was right. We can all be right today. Those personalities, it just changes things. The more exposure you can put on them, and that's what's great about social media is people can highlight themselves. A lot of them don't though.
Yep. I think another one of the great personalities over the years, J.B. Mooney. There's a lot of people that love J.B. Mooney. There's a lot of people that hate J.B. Mooney, and he doesn't care. It's just his personality and stuff, and that's one of those people that, whether you know all the ins and outs in bull riding or not, if you say J.B. Mooney, they know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It's the same thing with Fallon Taylor, right? You may not agree with the helmet and the tie-dye pants,
right?
But she's got more fans by herself than the rest of
There's
everybody
20 million people on Instagram that'll agree with her style.
Yeah, not quite that many, but yeah, she's got a lot of fans, and she puts out these YouTube videos that are just like little 30-minute vlogs. She gets 30,000, 40,000 views on all of them. I mean, take a page out of that book. You may not agree with her style, but copy the idea of doing that and expand your potential, right? Like there's tools out there, use them. I mean, use them. If you're a rodeo person, you want to take yourself to the next level, don't be the guy who doesn't use Instagram and Facebook. Like you can't go to a rodeo, talk to the people on social media, build an audience for yourself so that you aren't lumped into the people who can't do anything right now.
And what people, especially young athletes, like high school, junior high, even college, I guess, kind of, really transitioning, what they got to understand is sponsors today, one of, if not the first thing they look at is your social media, to see, first off, do you have it? How many followers, how many fans, whatever, what content are you posting? Are you posting a bunch of pictures of you out at the bar, drinking beer till 4 a.m., acting stupid? Or are you posting your rides, your runs, stuff from the practice, especially this 3 months when we were all sitting at home? Are you posting stuff from the practice pen? What is your influence in those people that look to you, look to your social media?
Well, and that's the hard thing, right? It's like, because rodeo's so pure on the surface, no one's allowed to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
You should be. I mean, you should be able to be the Mike Tyson of rodeo too, right? You should, and it shouldn't affect that. I mean, some people aren't going to agree with it, but it'll create so much excitement if someone's just that bad guy. It's just a good heel to have in everything, right? There's always going to be that guy in football, baseball, basketball, combat sports that you don't like because he's just a douchebag.
Right.
What's wrong with that in rodeo? Why not be such a black sheep that people are? I mean, because look at Conor McGregor, right?
Oh yeah,
dude, knocking out old men. He's like, but he transcends their sport because he's just so entertaining. Rodeo can have that. Like you can have more than one thing and still say God, love, and cowboys. Like you can still have that, but also have a dude who's double fisting beers and punch people out the bar. Like it all fits together. There's no reason multiple things can't exist in one space.
Yep. I mean, because that's the bridging the gap of personalities. I mean, if we only appeal to those people that are, straight and narrow, whatever, like that's the only kind of fan base you're going to get. But if you want to get, the wild, rowdy, fun-loving type, you got to have some wild, rowdy, fun-loving people for them to latch onto. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely room for the – okay, so – let's go back to the early 2000s. Sid Steiner, he was that wild, long hair, dreadlocks, piercings, ripping his shirt off in the arena,
jacked.
Yeah, I mean, and he created fans. I mean, okay, talking about the Cody and Fred rivalry. When's the last time we had somebody like that would just beat their chest and beat their chest and scream at the top of their lungs, when they're excited and stuff, or kick and stomp and cuss like a sailor when they don't do well? I mean, you're right. We've almost purified our athletes too much.
Right. Well, because everybody's afraid of what they're going to lose if they show their real personality, right? Which sucks. Like, let people be who they are. All it's going to do is be better for the sport anyway, right? Yep. I mean, I was telling Sid Steiner when he was in there, I was like, dude, I wish you were going right now.
Oh, my gosh.
And that you had your personality. It's great because Rocker's probably going to do it. But
it probably is.
But, which is awesome. That kid's cool. But, I mean, Sid Steiner... And the fact that he did one world championship and bounced, just like his dad, like that's just so cool.
I mean,
I love that.
You want to talk about such a strong mental game to tell yourself, I'm going to be the best and just walk away. Like that's tough.
Well, and they had the benefit of not needing the financial side of it, right? So there's a piece to that. It's like, look, I know there's certain people like they got to keep going until they have enough money where they don't have to. Lucky for them, they didn't have to do that, so they could do these freaking mic drop things that were just sweet.
Yeah.
But I mean, the dude was talented. Like he didn't really start bulldogging very long before he won a world championship.
No.
There's just not a lot of people like that either. But the sport needs crazy like that. It just does. Not everybody needs to be that, but a couple people do need to be that because that's what brings more.
And just little things too. I mean, I'm not sitting here telling somebody they need to go to their next rodeo and some steer wrestler needs to rip their shirt off and beat on their chest like a baboon. But I mean, take like Luke Branquinho, just the little, kind of the booty shuffle thing that he got branded with. That's kind of a staple thing. If he does a good run, as an announcer, I can say, come on, Luke, let's shake it, for these people. And he'll do the little booty shake, and that's kind of his thing. And people cheer and stuff. It's a cool little thing that I'll say sets him apart from everybody else. Nobody else has got a touchdown dance in steer wrestling. That's his. And that's cool. That's something that we as announcers can go to.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes full circle. It's just
Fred and the raise the roof thing. That was his, touchdown dance.
Yeah. I mean, Cody had the shoot the calf in the head thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work today, probably.
Probably not.
But I mean, it was cool. Like I liked it. I mean, I loved watching that. Anytime somebody does something cool, it's just worth doing because 90% of the guys aren't going to do anything cool.
Right.
They're not going to say anything cool because maybe they're just dry, which is okay.
Yeah. If that's you, that's you.
Or they're scared to be judged or persecuted for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I keep having examples popping in my head, but like Stetson Lawrence in the PBR, the Firewalker dance and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are just little things, and then there's so many of them that they just, complete their ride or run, just walk out of the arena like nothing happened.
Yeah, and you know what? I get it because I've had the idea to do and could have executed it sooner probably, and luckily 12 Gauge stepped in and helped and did all that, and Dustin Pointer and I were able to create this the way that we did. But I mean, I wanted to do it years ago, and I was too scared to do it because of fear of judgment and persecution. Right? So I get it, but at some point it's like, let's just swim upstream and change the narrative.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I mean, like I said earlier, I think what you guys have been able to do, and I don't want to say the controversial topics that you guys talk about, but like the Bobby Mote thing, just clear the air. I mean, just spill the beans and put the truth out there on what happened with the ERA. Why did it work for a short period? Why did it dissolve? I think that's great, and all getting the real side of this sport from like your sister and Haley and Emily and those that have been on here. People can see the realization, the all-night drives, the early mornings, the showing up to run for 15 to 18 seconds, loading up, driving another 18 hours, do it all over again, and hope that you maybe break even at the end of the year. I mean, people see, $300,000-$400,000, in season earnings or even, on the low end of the 15, 150,000. But what they don't see is the $500,000 that they've invested in trucks, trailers, horses, feed, tack. I mean, hay, all the stuff, fuel. There's the big killer, fuel. I think it's great that you guys are able to open that up and show people the reality of this sport.
Well, it's important because what it does is it also shows why you should have so much more respect for these athletes, right?
For sure.
They aren't doing it to get rich.
No.
They're not. They're doing it because they freaking love it, and there's a passion that most people could never understand for the culture we all love.
And at the end of the day, when you nod your head within 8 to 20 seconds, you could die doing this sport.
People have died.
And it's happened. I mean, I know football, you can have injuries. In any sport, you can have freak injuries. But this sport, when you are dancing with the devil, not to sound cliche, but when you are playing with animal athletes, your level of immortality drops. I mean, it's just incredible to watch what these athletes do, get beat up doing it, and tomorrow do it again.
Absolutely. There's nothing like it in the world, which is why I'm so passionate about trying to help it grow.
There's football players that sit out for 6 weeks with turf toe. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, we've got people that ride bulls with broken legs or what have you, and oh my gosh, my blood pressure's going up.
Well, it's exactly right, and get next to no credit for doing it because it's just like it's a different breed.
Yeah,
it's like no shit they do. They don't even have to ask if a cowboy's going to do that.
Yeah, that goes back to those people that look at our sport as a novelty. We are not a novelty. We are a professional sport, professional athletes. That it's more than just a sport. It is a lifestyle.
It's a full-blown, century-long culture.
Yeah.
So let's take care of it, guys. Anybody who can help grow the sport and take care of it, it's each and every one of our responsibility to do that.
Thank your committees.
Yeah.
Especially right now in this year, Like, thank your committees and don't leave your trash all over the parking lot. There's my 2 cents.
I'm sure you could go to Facebook right now and look at 50 other people with that same.
Oh, man, it drives
change
me
in their pocket.
absolutely insane.
Yeah, there's culprits. We could call people out, but shouldn't.
Nope. Well, you know who you are. You have to sleep with it at night. It's on your conscience.
And that's a wrap.
And take.
This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content by Cassie Emerson. Our theme song is by Shay Ashshire and the Night Howlers. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you guys next time.